Hi, my name's Jennifer Luarca, and I'm going to cover the PLRS study cycle. This cycle was originally designed by Frank Christ, and it's modeled around a two-stage learning cycle we tend to use for easy things to learn or a lot of our early education. This two-stage learning cycle starts with an L for learning and ends with an S for study. The L stage can also be lecture. We use that interchangeably. And what that stage is all about is really just attending class, taking notes, reading textbooks, watching videos, learning, right? Hearing about information, typically for the first time. Then the S stage is really about studying, doing homework, practicing problems, engaging with the material so that we can practice what we heard in that L stage. Now, as I said before, this two-stage learning cycle works really well. From K-12, we've used it effectively. We use it for a lot of our lower division coursework. It works just fine. But the challenge comes when students jump from lower level coursework to upper division coursework, or even upper division GEs. What we tend to see is students that are trying to use this cycle aren't performing at the level that they want anymore. And that is typically because the volume of information has increased as well as the depth. Right? You're required to know more about more. And this two-stage cycle just isn't allowing you enough time to get to that level of understanding. So what we'd like you to do is incorporate a P, or a preview, and an R, or a review, before and after our two-stage cycle. So within 24 hours, I'll write that down, 24 hours of going to class, we want you to preview the material that you're going to learn in class. Okay? So that may involve reading, but maybe you don't have the textbook, maybe you're not reading. That could involve looking at the syllabus and Googling concepts that are going to be covered, thinking about what happened last time in class, just trying to get a foundation of understanding before you walk into that lecture to learn the new material. This stage is equivalent to stretching before you work out. Can you work out without stretching? Of course. Do you get as much out of the exercise? Absolutely not. It's the same thing with learning. Can you go to class having not heard concepts before? Yes. Will you retain that information? Chances are no. So what we want to do is see the information before we hit the lecture. So now in lecture or during that primary learning experience, we can think at a deeper level about the information. We can ask questions for clarification, and we can practice that knowledge a little bit and see how much we know. Okay? Then, leaving class, we want to do a review of the information, again, within 24 hours of leaving lecture. We want to say what happened in class. What do I know versus what don't I know? What do I need to focus on more in my study sessions? Will this information in my notes make sense to me in 2 weeks' time? If not, if maybe it's just examples and there's no real clear picture of what this is about, and you think your future self won't remember what this information is for, we want to take that review time to contextualize our notes and make sure that in 2 or 3 or even 4 weeks' time, we can look at these notes and they'll make sense to us, okay? So this stage is really about clarification and just a quick recap of what happened in the lecture. Oftentimes, we recommend students do a quick summary in their notes of what happened, and that allows for that contextualizing piece. Then, we want to study. And oftentimes, when I speak with students, I ask them how they study, and they say they looked at their book, they looked at their notes, they looked at their study guide. And that's a lot of looking, right? Very passive approach to study. What we want to do, if you're working this study cycle, then when you hit the study stage, you're not really having to look at things anymore. What we want you to do here is practice producing information. Practice your knowledge so that you can see how well you know information, and you can really see how much time you need to spend on different pieces of that content. So the study stage might look like drawing diagrams, creating visuals, explaining content to somebody else. It could look like practicing problems, but under timed conditions like the test would provide, right? So this is really about practicing and production and really testing your knowledge so that you can go back to these stages and get clarification, or even in the lecture, you can sit and now ask questions because you know exactly what part of something you don't quite understand. Or you can attend office hours and say, during my study session, I can get to this point of the problem, but then here's where I have my gap in knowledge. And that helps the professor or the tutor understand where you need the most help. Okay, so again, this is a preview, learner lecture, review, study cycle. And we really, really encourage you to work this cycle on a regular basis every week of your 16-week semester. If you want some help putting this cycle to use, incorporating it into your daily life, you can request an appointment or schedule an appointment with a learning skills specialist at the Learning Center. More information will be on a link later. Thank you.